Hello there, I'm Jeff Diamond, and welcome to the first round highlights of the Cutter NCAA Legends Tournament 2016. Well, it was a fantastic first round. 32 matchups have been done. Now we're down to 32 teams overall. Now, I know I did not do a prelude episode, which meant how the format happened. So basically, this is how it went. Now, this is based on the real life stats of the 2016 NCAA season. Each team had about 12 games. All the teams, all 120 plus, that were in Division 1A. I still call it 1A because it's easier to remember. But anyway, it had 12 games, but I added a 13th game to all the teams. So you played 13 games. You have to win 7 of them. Sorry. Right hand first. Anyway, you have to win 7. The faster you get to 7 wins, the better your seeding is. So basically what ended up happening is that there are 4 groups. Kind of like the NCAA basketball tournament, but anyway, 4 groups. First group is called the Sugar Bowl group, and they would play their Group 1 championship game at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. Group 2 was named the Rose Bowl, for of course the famous tournament game in Pasadena, California. Group 3 was named the Orange Bowl, for like their finals would be at the Orange Bowl in Miami, and Group 4 is the Fiesta Bowl group that will be playing in Phoenix, Arizona. So basically, what happened is I kept track of who got to 7 first and all that, and made sure the seedings and all that. There were a few rules about the seeding format. Is that no team, to do with the 2016 divisional format, could face each other in the first 2 rounds. They had to wait till the round of 16. So for one example, let's see. I know that basically, I'm sorry, I'm losing my head. Oh, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, for example, in one of the groups would face each other. Now you'd be thinking, wait, Oklahoma and Texas A&M are not in the same group, right? Right. Oklahoma's in the Big 12 and A&M is in the SEC. But remember, I don't have a PS3, so I only have the services of PS2. And of course, the last NCAA football game for the PS2 was the NCAA 11. So basically, they had Oklahoma and Texas A&M in the same conference, but I didn't use that game for any weight or measure or I don't know. It was equity. Basically, it was based on real life and all that. 13th game you win, that counts towards your win schedule. So through the first several weeks to the final few weeks of the real season, I had a lot of teams. There were a couple of Sun Belt teams that won on the final day and clinched. I ended up with 63 teams. Now, 3 of them are custom teams. Of course, my team, Canada State. My friends from BSU, their team, Empire State, got in. But I used NCAA 11 and used the Dynasty mode to determine who the 3rd spot would go to in the custom league. So basically, I made up 9 schools and replaced all the teams in the Sun Belt with them. So basically, that happened. And Alaska narrowly beat DC based on conference score. So Alaska got into the spot where DC wouldn't. So what ended up happening is Canada State took on Empire State in a 1-game playoff, which I did not have any influence on. I just let it go and then just came back to it later. I never played it. The winner got an automatic 7 seed, and the loser got a 10 seed in the tournament, and whoever ended up 3rd would get a 15 seed. So basically, Canada State won, so we got the seed and a home playoff game. Now, there were some shuffling because some teams that qualified later on, their legendary teams are worth like a 9 or 10 seed, so there were a lot of switching around and all that. So basically, I'm going to go through So basically, I had 64 teams, and as it always, I had to make sure that no interconference matchups would be for the first 2 rounds. Round of 16 through to the finals is fair enough. And then what I did was I did Dynasty mode to try to unlock stadiums and all that. The Final Four, of course, I made Group 1, the winner of Group 1, the Sugar Bowl group, takes on the winner of Group 1 Fiesta, and the winner of the Rose Bowl Group 2 takes on the winner of Group 3, which is the Orange Bowl, in the semifinals and the finals. That will be at EA Sports Stadium, and yeah, that was an unlockable stadium in the game. And also what I did, well, I tried to get pennants for stadiums and all that. You can't use a cheat code for that because online you can't find it. So basically I tried to make sure that all the round of 32 stadiums would be like bowl stadiums, quote unquote. It may not be necessarily bowls, or they have their names changed in the 5 years since the game was released, but that's the way it is. So anyway, I'm going to be going through the group bit by bit and just telling you about the first round results. Videos will be coming up soon because I have to make sure I have space on my memory cards. Sure. So anyway, just going to show you my findings and all that. So basically, you have like the seedings and all that, where they're going to play in the second round, where the round 16, and then the group finals and all that. It'll be hard to follow along. I'm just going to show you this now, because I know that you probably won't glance through it. So anyway, now you've noticed some teams with circles around them. Those circles or bullets are for the home team, like what stadium they had. For instance, Miami versus Troy. Miami was a 13 seed, Troy was a 4 seed. It doesn't necessarily mean that the game has been played at Troy Stadium. Basically what I did was a famous stadium that people would know. So Miami Stadium was open up with Troy. I didn't want to go to Troy, and then Miami and all that. So I decided to go to Miami. Now there were some neutral site games. There were 4 or 5. There were seven intersite games, which means both teams, I couldn't figure out what stadium they should play in, so I decided to randomly select the stadium. Now I'll tell about those games later. And I will be telling you, the home teams in the round of 32 and round 16 and quarterfinals are not necessarily seeding based, they're based on geographical stuff. So anyway, I'm going to go through all 4 groups, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so Group 1 was the Sugar Bowl group. I still have not picked up that stadium yet. I have to make sure I pick up that stadium by the quarterfinals, which I have set for to start taping on Boxing Day 2016. And if I don't, then I have to use Tulane's stadium version of New Orleans, or the New Orleans Bowl, but anyway, it wouldn't be the same. But it is nice. So anyway, first off, number 1 Bama took in number 16 Arkansas State. Arkansas State was really overmatched. Bama easily shut them out 34-0. Bama would face the winner of number 8 BYU against versus number 9 Navy, and Navy was the home team. And once you see the game video, it was a classic. BYU up 13-7. Navy was running the clock down less than a minute. They were within striking range of the go-ahead touchdown when Edwin Pauley, the Navy quarterback, fumbled the ball on the goal line. It was picked up by BYU in the end zone. Touchback, BYU ended up running the clock down, game over. So Navy nearly pulled a stunner against Brigham Young, which had Steve Young as the starting quarterback. So Bama takes on BYU. Oh, by the way, Ken Stabler is the Bama number 1 quarterback. So Bama will face BYU at the Armed Forces Bowl in Texas, in Fort Worth. Bama will be the home team. Next up was number 13 Miami versus number 4 Troy, and of course Miami got the home game. Troy did pretty well. They scored 14 points. They only gave up 24, so Miami won 24-14. And who would they face? The winner of the 12-5 game, Toledo versus Penn State. And in a shocker, number 5 Penn State was the home team, remember. In a shocker, Toledo, you'll see the video evidence, but Toledo shocked everyone by beating Penn State 23-13 without me interfering at all. Toledo, for some reason, got through on Penn State. It was shocking to see Penn State eliminated. So Miami will face Toledo in the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. Miami was given the home team. You can see that. So anyway, next on the list is Number 15, Army versus number 2, Baylor. Army tried to use their triple options and all that to good use. The bad news is they didn't score 8 points, but the good news is they held Baylor to only 10, which was amazing. Number 2, Baylor. Number 10, Florida State took on number 7, Washington State, and Florida State easily beat Washington State. Andrew Bledsoe by 17 points. So it will be FSU Baylor in New Mexico. And Baylor is the home team because of their proximity, geographic proximity. To Ed Group 1, number 14, New Mexico took on number 3, Western Michigan, and that game was randomly picked to be at Northern Iowa's Stadium, which was a dome. And New Mexico beat Western Michigan 22-14, shocking everyone. Of course, Western Michigan's on this big run with the death of John Saunders. May he rest in peace. So, who will New Mexico face? They take on the winner of the 11-6 game, Memphis or North Carolina. And in Memphis, they narrowly beat North Carolina by a score of 10-7. So Memphis will deal with New Mexico and the Meineke Bowl in Charlotte. And Memphis is the home team. So basically, everyone will be shocked that New Mexico or Memphis, one of those teams will be going to the round of 16. So to reiterate, Bama will take on BYU in Fort Worth, Miami will take on Toledo and Shreveport, Florida State Baylor in New Mexico, and New Mexico takes on Memphis in Charlotte, North Carolina. I will mention, of course, the round of 16 stadiums once the second round is complete. On to the fourth group, the Fiesta Bowl group. Number 16, Middle Tennessee took on the 1 seed in that group, Houston, who were playing at Wake Forest, because I didn't know what stadium to use. So Houston easily beat Middle Tennessee 24-3. Number 9, Arkansas hosted number 8, Louisiana Tech, and Arkansas won 35-zip. So it was Houston and Arkansas who will play at Houston's Reliance Stadium, and the Texas Bowl. Houston obviously is the home team. Number 13, Tennessee hosted number 4, San Diego State, and Tennessee shut out the Aztecs 24-zip. Their opponent will be the Virginia Tech Hokies, who as the 5 seed beat number 12 Tulsa 35-6. That game was neutral site at Utah State, so Tennessee will face Virginia Tech. That is at the Music City Bowl in Nashville. Tennessee obviously is the home team because it's in their state. Number 15, Empire State. Now, I had to rearrange some stuff, with some seeds and all that. They were originally the 10 seed to deal with Ohio University, but because Kansas State stuck their noses into it, Empire got stunk up and got stuck with the 15 seed. They dealt with number 2, Ohio State. Ohio State usually won 31-0. Number 7, Ohio University took on number 10, Kansas State. But Kansas State went to, I believe, I forgot the stadium. But I can't remember where it was. But anyway, Kansas State beat Ohio 27-10. Oh, it was in Hawaii, at Hawaii Stadium. So Kansas State won that game. They'll deal with Ohio State. That's at Tiburon Stadium. Yes, that exists. Tiburon Stadium in Florida. That game will be Ohio State's hosting for some reason. And then finally, we got the number 14 seed Eastern Michigan taking on number 3 Washington. Washington easily won on home turf, 31-zip. They'll deal with either number 11 Old Dominion and number 6 Boise. And Boise won 34-10. Is your final. Washington will face Boise. Unfortunately, Boise will have the home field advantage because the stadium was actually the Humanitarian Bowl in Boise. So basically, Boise will have home field advantage, kind of. So anyway, to summarize, Houston will face Arkansas at the Texas Bowl. Tennessee, Virginia Tech will meet at the Music City Bowl. Kansas State, Ohio State meets at Tiburon, and Washington, Boise meets at Humanitarian in Boise. All right, so the other half of the bracket. Group 2 was the Rose Bowl group. Michigan hosted number 16 Alaska. Alaska, no chance. 0 points. Michigan got 24. And then number 9 West Virginia went to number 8 Pitt and beat them 27-10. Pitt, of course, the last team to get in the tournament because they actually beat Syracuse the same week as Georgia ended up losing to Georgia Tech. Because Pitt and Georgia were actually going to be in a one-game playoff to decide who gets in the tournament and who doesn't. But because Pitt won when Georgia didn't on the final week, I decided to give Pitt but bad luck. So Michigan will take on West Virginia. That's in Detroit at Ford Field. Michigan's the home team. Number 13, Texas Christian took on number 4, Louisville. I decided to stick that game to the neutral site, and it was in Cleveland at Cleveland University. Texas Christian usually won 38-10, even though Louisville was a 4 seed. And number 12, USC got to host number 5, Auburn, because of, LA Memorial Coliseum, and it worked. Auburn drove down the field late in the game, but they couldn't, Cam Newton couldn't avoid the sacks. USC's defense had it. So USC will take on Texas Christian. That's in San Diego at the Poinsettia Bowl. USC's the home team because it's in California. Number 15, Idaho took on number 2, Utah, and Idaho stunk it up, even though they were on home turf. They lost the game 35-0. And number 10, Wisconsin took on number 7, Western Kentucky. Wisconsin got the home game, and it showed 42-7. So both Utah and Western Kentucky, no, Utah and Wisconsin, excuse me, won by 35 points, and they'll meet at the Champs Bowl in Orlando. Utah will be given the home team designation. Number 14, Appalachian State took on number 3, LSU. Appalachian State, good news is they scored a touchdown. Bad news, they lost 34-7. And also, in the game of the tournament, first round, well, the regulation tournament, number 11, Colorado taking on number 6, Minnesota at the Metrodome. I think it's Ricky Foggy who's the Minnesota quarterback. He threw a 65-yard Hail Mary and got his receiver, Arlen Bruce III, in the end zone just as time ran out, and sent Minnesota to the Papa John's Bowl in Birmingham against LSU. LSU is given the home team designation. So, to summarize, Michigan, West Virginia will play in Detroit, USC, Texas Christian in San Diego, Wisconsin, Utah in Orlando, and LSU, Minnesota in Birmingham. And finally, Group 3, the Orange Bowl group. Number 1, Clemson took on number 16, Lafayette. Clemson easily won the game 38-7. The 9-8 game was Temple versus Oklahoma State. Decided to play at College Atlantica in Providence, Rhode Island, and Temple couldn't score a point, 17-0. It wasn't because of Bill Cosby. You know, Bill Cosby was on the Temple team. Anyway. Number 13, Georgia Tech went to number 4, Oklahoma, and shocked everyone by winning 21-6. Oklahoma not only lost on home turf, they got shut out. Georgia Tech used up a lot of time with their running game. And who will Georgia Tech face? The number 5 seed A&M. Texas A&M took down Wyoming on home turf 14-6 in a low-scoring affair. Number 15, Central Michigan took on number 2, South Florida. That was a neutral site game, and it was in Georgia. So Georgia got lucky and hosted the game. And a last-minute touchdown by Central Michigan defeated South Florida, so Central Michigan's in the next round. And the 10-7 matchup ended up being Iowa versus us, Canada State. We had home field advantage, we had home weather advantage, but we didn't have home talent advantage. We lost 30-6 to Iowa. So Iowa won the game easily. So Iowa will take on Central Michigan, not us. Number 14, Air Force took on number 3, Nebraska in Nebraska. And this was a classic game as well. You'll see the video tape. Air Force scored a touchdown and a 2-point convert to make it 10-7 against Nebraska. Nebraska had to go down the field, and in the last few seconds, Sandro DeAngelis needed a 48-yard field goal to kick it. The good news is the wind was for him as it went towards the goalpost, not away from it. Basically, if the wind shifted the other way around or was not that as strong, Nebraska would have been shocked on home turf by Air Force. So Nebraska tied it, went to overtime. Air Force got the ball first in overtime, got kicked off, and then Nebraska used the field goal to win the game. And finally, number 11, Stanford against number 6, Florida. This was also a massive game. It was 14-14 at the end of regulation. Florida got the ball first, and they had a 4th and 33. All Stanford had to do was either deflect the ball away or make Florida make the pass, but of course not get 33 yards. And then Danny Warfel, who's the Florida quarterback, threw a bullet to Rydell Anthony. And Rydell Anthony caught the ball inside the 10, and that with the sticks. And Florida, a few plays later, scored a touchdown, and then all of a sudden, Stanford needed a touchdown, but they couldn't do anything offensively, so Florida wins 21-14 in overtime. So, the Orange Bowl matchups will be Oklahoma State will be the home team against Clemson. They'll play at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. Texas A&M takes on Georgia Tech in Las Vegas. A&M is the home team. Central Michigan will take on Iowa in the International Bowl in Toronto. That's where we would have been. Central Michigan ended up being the home team. And in San Francisco at the Emerald Bowl, Nebraska will take on Florida. That is a huge second-round matchup when you think about the historic implications. I believe that's got to be the only massive matchup, second-round matchup with two historic teams. Nebraska and Florida have met in many events, including the '96 Fiesta Bowl when Tommy Frazier ran all over Florida. So yeah, that's the way it goes. in San Francisco. So, anyway. Sandy the Sublime has predicted that Bama, Miami, Baylor, and Memphis will be your winners in round 2. Houston, Tennessee, Ohio State, Boise will in group 4. Michigan, USC, Wisconsin, LSU in the Rose Bowl group, and Oklahoma State, A&M, Iowa, and Nebraska will win in the Orange Bowl group. We'll see what happens. So we're down from 64 to 32 teams. Hopefully things will be different. I'm Jeff Diamond, signing off for now.